The charity student I had been sponsoring for 10 years just got into a university near my house. He asked if he could crash at my place for a few days to get used to the city before the semester started. In my past life, I readily agreed. I not only bought him all kinds of daily necessities, but also prepared a brand new MacBook and an iPhone as a reward for his hard work. But when he saw them, his face darkened instantly. Liam, I used to think you were just some average middle-class guy. I actually felt grateful to you. I didn't expect you to be this rich. Giving me just this cheap stuff seems a bit insulting, don't you think? And that $300 monthly allowance you promised is a joke. It needs to be at least $3,000. I refused him on the spot and told him that if he found it too little, he could find someone else to sponsor him. Seeing my firm stance, he immediately apologized, claiming he was just making a joke. I thought he had learned his lesson. I was wrong. That very night, while I was working late at the office, he slipped a massive dose of sleeping pills to my 3-year-old daughter. Then he crawled into my wife's bed. By the time I found out, my daughter was already dead from an overdose. I was consumed by rage. But during our physical confrontation, he pushed me off the balcony, sending me plummeting to my death. Afterward, he used his sweet talk to seduce my wife, got her pregnant, and successfully took over my position, stealing my entire estate. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day the charity student called. Hearing his request to stay at my place, my face remained dead calm. Sorry, Tristan. My house isn't open to strangers. Also, since you are now an adult, you'll have to figure out your own tuition and living expenses from now on. Before I could even hang up the phone, my wife, Chloe, snatched it right out of my hand. Her voice turned incredibly sweet as she spoke into the receiver. Tristan, don't mind Liam. He's just exhausted from work today and in a bad mood. It's just staying over for a few days, of course you can. I'll pick you up from the station tomorrow. She hung up and turned to glare at me, her voice filled with annoyance. Liam, what the hell is wrong with you? You've sponsored him for 10 years. What's a few more years of college? You should finish what you started. The poor boy came all this way for school. He doesn't know anyone here. What's wrong with letting him crash on our couch for a few days? I snatched the phone back and looked at her coldly. I said no, Chloe. And I mean it. It's my money. I give it to whoever I want. If I don't want to, no one gets a single dime from me. Tristan's whimpering, victim-playing voice immediately came through the speaker. Liam, Chloe, please don't fight because of me. It's my fault. I didn't think this through. I didn't mean to disrupt your family's life. I won't come, okay? Liam, please don't be mad at Chloe. Please, I beg you, don't cut off my tuition and allowance. I really want to go to college. I let out a cold laugh. Cut the act, Tristan. My decision is final. With that, I hung up. Chloe's face darkened instantly. Did you take the wrong meds today? How can you be so heartless? Tristan is such a sweet, sensible boy. Why are you pushing him into a corner? I stared at Chloe's face. My mind was flooded with images of her ugly, smirking face when she committed perjury in court in my past life. Tristan was the one who murdered me and our daughter. Yet, to protect Tristan and the bastard child in her belly, she ruthlessly painted me as a depressed, lunatic husband who poisoned his own daughter before jumping off the balcony. An uncontrollable wave of pure hatred surged from the depths of my soul. I pointed directly at the front door. Chloe, let me make this crystal clear. If you ever contact Tristan again, we are getting a divorce. Chloe froze, clearly not expecting me to take it this far. She sighed and reached out to grab my arm, her tone softening. Liam, don't be mad. I just thought since you sponsored Tristan for so many years, you actually liked the kid. I had no idea you despised him this much. Fine. I promise I won't contact him again. Just stop throwing the word divorce around, okay? I brushed her hand off, not even wanting to look at her. Chloe cleared her throat awkwardly. By the way, the office is sending me on a business trip for a few days. Get some rest at home. I'll bring you a nice gift when I get back. I genuinely thought that without Tristan's interference, I could still keep this family together. After all, my daughter was so young. I didn't want her to suffer the pain of a broken family. But the next afternoon, when I went to pick my daughter up from her after-school art class, just as I reached the door, the teacher ran up to me. Mr. Vance, what are you doing here? Lily was already picked up by her mom and a young man a little while ago. A horrible sense of dread washed over me. I frantically dialed Chloe's number. The phone rang for a long time before she finally picked up. Chloe, where the hell did you take my daughter? Chloe's cheerful voice came through the line. Oh, you're off work? I already brought Lily home. There's a huge surprise waiting for you. Hurry back. Ignoring whatever surprise she had, I slammed my foot on the gas and sped home as fast as I could. When I kicked the front door open, Tristan was sitting on my sofa. He was holding a glass of milk, slowly moving it toward my daughter's lips. In my past life, this was exactly what Tristan did when I wasn't home. He crushed a massive amount of sleeping pills, mixed them into the milk, and tricked my 3-year-old daughter into drinking it. By the time I found out, her tiny body was already cold. Pure terror seized me. I rushed over like a madman and slapped the glass right out of Tristan's hand. Get the hell away from my daughter. With a loud crash, the glass shattered on the hardwood floor, spilling white milk everywhere. Lily burst into tears, terrified. I scooped her up, holding her tightly against my chest, my entire body shaking with rage and fear. Tristan gasped, looking at the spilled milk on the floor, pretending to be completely helpless and shocked. Hearing the commotion, Chloe ran out of the kitchen. Seeing the mess and our crying daughter, she screamed at me. Are you out of your mind? I glared at Tristan with venom in my eyes, then turned to demand an answer from Chloe. I asked you, why is he in my house? Chloe quickly pulled Tristan behind her back, shielding him. My business trip was cancelled. Tristan just arrived at the train station, so I picked him up on my way back to have dinner with us. What is your problem? I looked at her coldly. Chloe, do you treat my words as a joke? What did I tell you yesterday? If you contact him again, we are divorcing. Hearing this, Chloe lost her temper completely. You are being absolutely ridiculous. I brought Tristan here because I wanted you to see how amazing and talented this boy is. If you just spend a few days with him, you'll change your mind. I'm trying to save your 10-year investment from going down the drain. And this is how you treat me? You're threatening me with divorce. Tristan peeked out from behind Chloe, his eyes red, looking incredibly wronged and stubborn. Liam, please don't blame Chloe. It's all my fault. Both of you are my saviors. I don't want you guys to fight because of me. I'll leave right now. I won't get in your way. He made a show of grabbing his suitcase, but stopped right at the front door. As for my tuition and living expenses, don't worry, Liam. I'll find a way. Even if I have to steal or rob, I will get the money. Chloe immediately grabbed Tristan's arm, her heart breaking for him. Tristan, don't say such foolish things. Don't worry. Even if he doesn't sponsor you, I will make sure you finish college. Then she turned and glared at me with absolute hatred. Look at what you've done. I thought you were a generous, noble man. I didn't realize you were so petty and narrow-minded. You are pushing a good kid into a life of crime. I let out a cold, mocking laugh. Whether he went to steal or rob was none of my business. I wasn't the one forcing him. Seeing that I remained silent, Chloe sighed. You've been working too much overtime lately, so I'll let this slide. I know you're just talking out of anger. I'm going to take Tristan out for a nice dinner to calm him down. Stay home and cool your head. And stop using divorce as a threat. Lily is only 3. If she grows up without a mother, she'll be laughed at by all the other kids at preschool. With that, she dragged Tristan out the door. Before leaving, Tristan turned back and shot me a quick look. That look was filled with smugness and pure provocation. Not long after, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe on Snapchat. Since you don't want Tristan staying at the house, I'm taking him to a nearby luxury hotel for now. I'll take him around the city for a few days to clear his head. You should spend this time reflecting on your behavior. I stared at the screen and let out a cold laugh. Reflecting? Oh, I definitely needed to reflect. Reflect on how blind I was to have married such a piece of garbage who constantly backed an outsider over her own family. Chloe's heart was completely rotten. Since that was the case, there was nothing left to say. I dialed my lawyer's number immediately. Gary, draft a divorce agreement for me. I need it done as fast as possible. Then I called a private investigator I knew well. I need you to investigate 2 people for me. My wife, Chloe Vance, and a college student named Tristan. Over the next few days, Chloe didn't contact me, and I thoroughly enjoyed the peace. But looking at my daughter, I couldn't help but feel anxious. This house was no longer safe. Who knew what disgusting tricks Tristan would pull next? With that in mind, I quickly packed a few of Lily's clothes and daily necessities. I put her in her car seat and drove straight to my parents' house. Just as I arrived, my phone buzzed with 2 photos from Tristan. The first photo showed a massive luxurious bed in a 5-star hotel. Laid out neatly on it were a brand new MacBook Pro, an iPhone 15 Pro Max, several luxury watches, and a few designer men's suits with the tags still on. The second photo showed 2 hands clasped together. On their ring fingers were matching Cartier love rings. I didn't even need to guess whose hands those were. It was Chloe and Tristan. Looking at the photos, I chuckled. Tristan probably thought he had landed himself a super rich sugar mama. But what he didn't know was this. The only reason we lived in a penthouse and drove luxury cars was because I worked my ass off, pulling crazy overtime to become the vice president of my company. Meanwhile, Chloe had zero ambition. She had been working the same dead-end, lazy receptionist job for years. Her monthly paycheck, after taxes and insurance, was a pathetic $1,500. And she sent every single penny of that to her toxic, male-favoring family. I only gave her a credit card because I didn't want her to feel embarrassed when she went shopping with her friends. I never expected she would use my hard-earned money to play sugar mama to a broke college kid. I called the bank immediately and froze the card. My mom came out of the living room. Seeing my dark expression, she walked over with concern. What's wrong? You look awful. Did you and Chloe have a fight? I didn't want my parents to worry, so I took a deep breath and forced a smile. It's nothing, Mom. Just a minor issue at work. I might be really busy for the next few days, so I was hoping you and Dad could watch Lily for a bit. My dad walked out of his study and scooped Lily into his arms. Don't worry about her. Go handle your business. But remember, if you're dealing with something difficult, don't keep it to yourself. Your mother and I will always have your back. If things get too tough, just come home. We can still support you. Hearing my dad's words, my eyes welled up with tears. In my past life, after my death, my parents couldn't bear the grief of losing both their son and granddaughter. They both passed away shortly after. In this life, I would never let that tragedy happen again. Leaving my parents' house, I drove back to my apartment complex. Just as I parked my car and got out, I ran right into Chloe and Tristan. Chloe's face was livid. The moment she saw me, she charged at me. Liam, what the hell is your problem? Why did you freeze my card? I looked at her coldly. Let me remind you, Chloe. That is my card. Do I need your permission to freeze my own credit card? Chloe's face flushed red with anger, completely speechless. Seeing this, Tristan stepped forward and wrapped his arm around Chloe's shoulder. What do you mean? Your card? Liam, don't think I don't know the truth. Chloe told me everything. You only enjoy this rich lifestyle because of her hard work over the years. I didn't expect you to be such an ungrateful leech, trying to steal Chloe's money just because you're married to her. He turned to Chloe, his face filled with dramatic pity. Chloe, this kind of man doesn't deserve you. He's just dead weight. You should divorce him right now. I sneered in my mind. A few days ago, he was playing the polite kid, and now he was calling her Chloe so naturally. It was the evening rush hour, and many neighbors were returning home. Hearing the loud argument, they began to gather around us. Seeing the crowd, Tristan's eyes turned red. He pointed a finger at me, shouting dramatically, "Everyone, please listen to this. He promised to sponsor my college education. But right before the semester started, he told me that if I wanted the money, I had to obey him. He wanted me. He wanted me to sleep with the rich, older women he introduced me to. If Chloe hadn't stepped in to save me out of the goodness of her heart, I don't know what I would have done." With that, Tristan covered his face, looking like he was traumatized and deeply victimized. The neighbors' looks toward me shifted instantly. Oh my God, he looks like such a decent guy. Who knew he was doing something so disgusting behind closed doors? You can't judge a book by its cover. He looks so handsome and professional, but his heart is absolutely rotten. Exactly. He has a daughter of his own. How could he be so cruel to another kid? Listening to the whispers, Chloe took a step forward, a smug smile playing on her lips as she whispered to me. Hear that, Liam? Everyone sees what you are. I'm warning you, unfreeze the card right now, and I might help you clear your name before this gets out of hand. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, their gazes heavy with self-righteous judgment. Chloe stood beside Tristan, her chest puffed out, her chin tilted upward in a triumphant glare. She looked at me as if she were a queen who had just handed down an execution sentence. She expected me to panic. She expected me to beg her to delete the videos, to unfreeze the credit card, and to crawl back to her feet, just to save my corporate reputation. I didn't get angry. I didn't even raise my voice. Slowly, deliberately, I pulled my phone from my pocket. I tapped the screen, opening the cloud storage file my private investigator had uploaded just 30 minutes ago. You're right, everyone, I said, my voice calm, clear, and ringing out through the quiet parking lot. You really shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Since my wife and her charity student want to talk about sleeping arrangements, let's look at the facts. I raised my phone, turning the screen toward the crowd of neighbors. This is the security footage from the Grand Plaza Hotel, room 802 from last night, I said, tapping the video. The screen showed a crystal clear, high-definition recording of Tristan and Chloe walking into the luxury suite together. They were holding hands, wearing matching Cartier love rings, and kissing passionately before closing the door. The neighbors' gasps were instantaneous. The self-righteous murmurs died, replaced by a sudden, shocked silence as dozens of eyes darted from the screen to Chloe's pale, frozen face. Chloe Vance works as a receptionist at my firm's subsidiary. I continued, my tone as clinical and detached as if I were delivering a quarterly financial report. Her monthly salary after taxes is precisely $1,500. She sends every single penny of that to her family. The luxury lifestyle she enjoys, the penthouse, the SUV, and the very credit card she's been using to buy this boy a MacBook, an iPhone, and designer suits, is funded entirely by my personal accounts. I looked at Tristan, whose dramatic, tearful expression was rapidly hardening into a mask of pure, ugly terror. Tristan, I said softly, you claim I wanted you to sleep with rich older women, but it seems the only older woman you're sleeping with is my broke wife. And unfortunately for you, since I frozen the card, she doesn't have a single dime to pay the hotel bill. The front desk has already flagged your suite for corporate card fraud. No. That's a lie. Chloe screamed, her face turning a violent, mottled shade of purple as she lunged toward me to grab my phone. I easily stepped back, letting her fingers grasp empty air. My lawyer, Gary, walked out from behind the shadow of my car, carrying a thick leather folder. He stepped in between us, handing Chloe a crisp, white document. Mrs. Vance, Gary said, his voice flat and authoritative. This is a formal petition for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, marital infidelity, and corporate asset dissipation. We have already filed for a temporary restraining order, and your access to the penthouse is permanently revoked. Chloe stared at the paper in her hand, her body beginning to shake. Divorce? No. Liam, you can't do this. The penthouse is our marital asset. You have to give me my share. The penthouse is owned by my parents' private family trust, Chloe, I said, giving her a polite, distant smile. You signed a prenuptial agreement before our wedding waiving all claims to trust-funded properties. You get nothing. I turned on my heel and walked toward the building entrance, leaving the two of them standing in the middle of the parking lot under the mocking, disgusted stares of our neighbors. The theater was over, and the play had ended in absolute ruin for them. The next 3 days were a quiet, beautiful peace. I spent my time working from home in the penthouse, finalizing the restructuring of my department at the corporate office. My parents sent me daily videos of Lily playing in their backyard, her bright, happy laughter filling my quiet rooms with a deep, healing warmth. Meanwhile, Chloe and Tristan's paradise was turning into a living hell. The Grand Plaza Hotel had indeed evicted them. Because my credit card was frozen, the outstanding bill of $4,000 for the luxury suite, the room service, and the Cartier rings fell entirely on Chloe. The hotel manager had threatened to call the police for fraud, forcing Chloe to drain her entire meager savings and max out her personal credit cards. Just to settle the bill, she was left with a balance of $12 in her bank account and a mountain of high-interest debt. Worse, Tristan's attitude toward her had completely changed. The broke college kid had believed he was landing a wealthy, high-society sugar mama who could fund his luxury dreams. But when they were forced to move into a cheap, damp motel near the industrial district, and Chloe told him she couldn't afford to pay his university tuition, Tristan's sweet, sensible mask completely shattered. You told me your husband was a leech. Tristan screamed at her in the motel room, a recording my private investigator's directional microphone captured. You told me you held all the wealth I spent 2 years of my life kissing up to. You letting you touch me, and you're broke. You're just a cheap receptionist. Tristan, please, I love you. Chloe sobbed, trying to grab his arm. I'll find a way. I'll take out a loan. I'll make Liam pay. Get away from me. Tristan yelled, violently pushing her onto the cheap bed. If I don't get my tuition money by Monday, the university will cancel my registration. I didn't come to this city to live in a dump with an old, broke woman. He had left her that night, storming out into the rain, his mind already turning to a darker, more desperate plan. He wanted his money, and if he couldn't get it from Chloe, he would get it from me. On Sunday evening, my private investigator, Mark, called me. Liam. Mark's voice was tense. Tristan just left a local hardware store. Bought a heavy-duty crowbar, a roll of duct tape, and a set of zip ties. He's heading toward your apartment complex. I sat at my mahogany desk, looking at the security feed of my penthouse entrance. On my monitor. Is Chloe with him? No, Mark said. Chloe is currently at her parents' house, begging her father for a loan. Tristan is acting alone. He has a key card he copied from Chloe's, set before she was evicted. Excellent, I said, a cold, hard-edged fury rising in my chest. Let him come. I didn't call the police immediately. Instead, I called the building's chief of security, a retired police captain who knew my family well, and had him station 4 armed security guards inside the service elevator lobby near my penthouse. At 11:30 p.m., the security feed on my monitor flickered. Tristan walked out of the service elevator. He was wearing a dark hoodie, his face shadowed, carrying a heavy canvas bag. He walked up to my door, pulled out the copied key card and swiped it. Bizing. The electronic lock, which I had recoded 2 days ago, flashed a bright red error light. Tristan's face twisted in rage. He realized the card was useless. Without hesitation, he reached into his bag, pulled out the heavy crowbar, and began to wedge it into the doorframe, trying to pry the heavy oak door open with brutal, frantic force. The noise of the metal grinding against wood echoed through the quiet hallway. I stood up, walked to the door, and slowly unlocked it from the inside. As the heavy lock slid back, Tristan gasped, taking a step back as the door swung open. I stood in the doorway, wearing a comfortable silk robe, looking down at him, with a calm, freezing indifference. Tristan, can I help you with something? You ungrateful leech. Tristan roared, raising the crowbar high, his eyes bloodshot and wild with a desperate, homicidal rage. Give me the money. Give me my tuition, or I swear to God I will bury you right here. He lunged forward, swinging the heavy iron bar directly at my head. But before the metal could even reach me, the 4 security guards stepped out of the shadow of the service lobby. The lead guard grabbed Tristan's wrist, twisting it with a sharp, snapping force that made him let out a high-pitched, wet shriek. The crowbar clattered onto the hardwood floor, and the other 3 guards violently pinned Tristan against the concrete wall, clicking heavy steel handcuffs around his wrists. Liam Vance. Tristan screamed, thrashing against their grip, his face covered in tears and dirt. You set me up. This is a misunderstanding. I was just trying to fix the door. Save it for the judge, Tristan, I said, picking up the heavy crowbar from the floor. This is attempted burglary, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and trespassing. I pulled out my phone and tapped a file. And as of 10 minutes ago, the National Academic Integrity Board has officially received the forensic audit of your university entrance exams. Tristan's face went completely pale. What? What audit? You didn't write your own entrance essays, Tristan, I said softly, looking at his shaking body. And you paid a surrogate test taker $5,000 to take your mathematics placement exam last year. We found the bank transfers from your charity account. The university has already permanently revoked your admission. No, please. Liam, I beg you, he sobbed, his knees buckling as the guards dragged him toward the service elevator. I was a good kid. I did it for my future. Please don't ruin me. His pathetic, desperate wailing faded down the hallway as the elevator doors closed. The second male lead of my past life, the monster who had poisoned my daughter and pushed me off a balcony, was finally going to a place where he would never see the light of a classroom again. 2 weeks later, the divorce was finalized in record time. With the evidence of Chloe's massive asset dissipation, her public hotel stays with a college student, and the attempted burglary conspiracy, the judge stripped her of every single claim to my assets. She was fired from her receptionist job due to the immense public scandal, and her father had completely disowned her, refusing to pay off her massive credit card debts. I was sitting in my parents' beautiful, sunny backyard, watching Lily run through the grass with a golden retriever pup I had bought her for her birthday. Her laughter was bright, sweet, and filled with a pure, untamed joy. Liam, my mother said, walking out onto the porch, her face carrying a tight, stressed look. Chloe is outside the gate. She's been sitting on the sidewalk for 3 hours. I set my teacup down. I'll handle it, Mom. I walked down the stone path toward the iron gates of my parents' estate. Standing on the sidewalk, looking thin, hollow, and utterly ruined, was Chloe. She was wearing her old, faded receptionist's coat, her hair disheveled, her fingers clutching a single, crumpled plastic bag containing her few remaining belongings. When she saw me, she threw herself against the iron bars, her eyes wide with a frantic, desperate hope. Liam, please, she sobbed, her fingers reaching through the metal grates to touch my sleeve. I'm sorry. I was completely brainwashed by him. Tristan. He was a monster. He lied to me. He used me. I didn't want to hurt you, Liam. We're a family. Lily needs her mother. Please let me come home. I looked at her, and for the first time in 2 lifetimes I realized how incredibly pathetic she was. She was a woman who had spent her entire life taking my devotion, my hard work, and my parents' warmth for granted, only to realize she was nothing without them. Lily doesn't need a mother who would let a killer into her house, Chloe, I said, my voice quiet, even, and entirely devoid of any emotion. A killer? What do you mean? She stammered, her face turning a sickly hollow gray. Nothing, I said softly. Just know that your time in my life is permanently over. I turned on my heel and walked back toward the sunny yard, my footsteps light and steady on the green grass. I didn't look back. I could hear her weeping and screaming my name from behind the iron bars, but the sound was quickly swallowed by the warm wind and my daughter's beautiful, happy laughter. I scooped Lily into my arms, holding her close against my chest, completely at peace. The tragedy of my past life was finally erased, and the future was ours to live.